Green line breakdown. Oh, I think we're up to 18 now. How's everybody doing today? Camera's a little off. Whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know if you can see. I'm at the TD Garden. No, I'm not, but uh, in a special location tonight, so couldn't get my usual backdrop. Figured a nice picture would be visually pleasing to you guys, but I don't know if you can see this on the camera. I'm like a ghost phasing in and out. That's okay. That's not what you're here for. You're not here to look at me. Thankfully, you're here to hear about the Boston Celtics. Hope everybody had a good week. I know I did. Jayson Tatum is back and looking great, looking fantastic. The team, not so much. Had a bit of a rough week, really rough West Coast trip. Not so much to say about the games themselves, but just feel like there was a lot of stuff going on this week that we got to talk about, we got to get into. And yeah, let's get right to it. So, first things first, Jayson Tatum, right? Obviously, we talked about last week how he's back. He had one game against Charlotte, and he had, I don't believe Cleveland had happened up until the last recording. So, I'm going to start off with that. Obviously, had a pretty good start, right? So, I thought Cleveland was going to be more of an issue. Right now, they're the 4th seed in the East, probably one of our main competitors going into the playoffs. And the team actually looked really solid out the gate. I believe that with James Harden on that team, he is one of those players in past history the Celtics have always been able to expose. I don't know if it's play style or it's hard to actually pick him out too because he's an older player in the league now. I know what he was, especially with Houston. He was phenomenal. He was an all-star year in and year out. He's really just not living up to that anymore because he's over 30 considerably, 36. So you're going to have some downturn when you get to that age. But that's not what Cleveland needs him to be. Obviously, they have Donovan Mitchell. They got Jared Allen. They got all the players around him. That's a good, solid team in Cleveland. They need him to be something of a tertiary scorer, the way I look at it, to give him some guard help, give Donovan Mitchell some guard help. And, it's been a solid experiment so far. But when Cleveland had to go up against us, we dealt with it. We had a pretty good game against them, led by Tatum in a way where he, even more so than the game against Dallas, was confident coming up, looking for shots, looking downhill. Much of what is going against Tatum after this first full week of being back is he is scoring at a high level. He's averaging over 20 points, but the efficiency is not there. He's just taking a lot of shots and getting them in. So, sure, I'm sure the consistency and the efficiency is not going to show up right away. I believe that will come with time. I'm not worried about it. There's other things I'm more worried about going into the playoffs. That was not one of them. And it's good to see he's just putting up numbers. But against that Cleveland game, against the Cavs, we had kind of a full beatdown, the way I looked at it. Everybody showed up. It was good team basketball. People originally thought Tatum wasn't going to play. He was going to take a little bit of a rest. But it really was just a full effort by the team. Obviously, Tatum had 20. Brown was out there with 23. Eric White, a lot of minutes, not a lot of points. I hope to not see that as much with Tatum back. It actually looks like the friendship has spun and is back a little bit. I don't know what it is with the two of them. I think they just mend or mesh. That's the word. They mesh really well together. They are a dynamic duo. They really like each other in a way that, not to say Jaylen Brown and Tatum hate each other or anything like that, but it's kind of always been a point of contention with the two of them that they just don't really show buddy with each other. I think it's just they're very divulging personalities. They're not alike at all. And I think Tatum and Derek White are more like each other, but kind of very giggly, corny humor. And they like that. And it plays well off of each other. So they really pair well. But it hasn't really shown through. Still, others showed up in this game. You had Shireman with 16 and Pritchard with 18. So it was good. It was a team you needed to beat. It gives you a little more space come playoffs. Obviously, the standings are what they are. And it was a good route. And everybody showed up to play. And Tatum got a little more confident. So I looked at that and said, good, that's a win. You take that win. And then you move on to this West Coast trip that was not the easiest. We talked about it. You're going against the top 2 teams in the West, and you got to do what you got to do. If you lose those games, I'm not standing here, unless you get blown out. I'm not going to stand here and say that's disappointing. They're the top 2 teams in the West for a reason. OKC is a championship team from last year, obviously. They're going to be hard to beat, just like we were hard to beat. Like we're hard to beat this year. We're a championship team. We got championship players. SGA is an MVP, right? So, or MVP candidate. Uh, so we start off with the Spurs. The final score of this game is not the story of this game. The story of this game is Jaylen Brown's ejection in the second quarter at the end of the game. At the end of the quarter. My fault. Where do I go with this? If you didn't hear about it, I'll do a little rundown, a little second by second explanation. Jaylen Brown has the ball on the offensive side, right? So they're trying to score. The Spurs are playing defense. Jaylen Brown's having a really good game up to this point. He, I believe, was the top scorer at the moment of ejection. So Jaylen Brown is dribbling. He goes out of bounds. The question here is, was he pushed or did he fall out of bounds? I'm not going to stand here and say unquestionably there was a forceful push to send him out of bounds. But when you're playing at a high speed, at a high intensity, even the smallest of shove will send you in one direction. When you're playing, on the line, it's very easy to go over. For sure there was contact. I can't tell just by looking at it whether, it was enough to send him completely on the y-axis, but he went out of bounds. The head referee, Tyler Ford, did not call a foul on this play. He called a turnover, and it was going the Spurs' way. Spurs were getting the ball. Jaylen Brown got up, got in Tyler Ford's face, in his direction, was yelling at him, arguing, and Tyler Ford teed him up. This first technical was warranted. It for sure was. Not to say the out of bounds call was the right call, but the referees make the calls. Arguing does nothing. It does nothing. It never has. It never will. The only time I have ever seen arguing be slightly effective is when you are not getting foul calls for taking shots, right? So you're getting whacked, getting taken down, going towards the rim, whatever it may be. That is the only scenario when that happens, like for a considerable amount of time, like first, second quarter, third quarter, and then you keep arguing, and then refs maybe sometimes will go, fine, I'll put a couple calls your way. Like maybe you are getting, it puts attention on you with the ball going for a score, right? That's essentially what that does. So sometimes that works in the favor of the players. Anything other than that. So this scenario where you're out of bounds, this is a moment, right? This is a foul call in a moment. This isn't happening throughout the game. Sometimes roughness happens, but I wouldn't say that's exactly what was going on. It was definitely more of a rough, I guess it was a rough game, but it wasn't anything like egregious. I wasn't sitting there going, wow, they're playing football out there. It wasn't anything like that. And this was the first instance of something major. Arguing in that moment does nothing. It is not going to get the ball. It is not getting it overturned. It really won't. Yes, I don't even know if it's eligible for a green light for a second look. Someone with more knowledge can answer that for me. I just don't think there's anything in that scenario to argue. The ref is not going to overturn it. You getting in his face is not going to overturn it. It really just is not. Now, this is the problem, right? So this is what caused all of this. The first technical that Jaylen Brown received from that what was deserved. If I'm the ref, if I was the ref, and I love Jaylen Brown, that technical would deserve. You got in my face, you wouldn't stop. The problem I have is with the second technical, and I think everybody's problem was with the second technical. Jaylen Brown has now not stopped talking, admittedly. He did not shut up. He kept going on. But he was no longer in the ref's face. And the play the Spurs had already run a play, and obviously he got teched, so play stops, and they're going up for their shot, right? The Spurs, for Jaylen Brown getting that technical. And Jaylen starts walking towards Tyler Ford. He didn't run. He didn't bull rush him. He just turns around and starts walking over. This is common. People get teched, and then an NBA player will walk over and start talking with the ref. Happens in every game. Happens every game. I wish they wouldn't do that, but I understand they talk it through with the ref to say, and mostly it's like, what did you see? What were you looking at? But it's nothing I haven't seen before, nothing crazy. To point out a guy that I see this happen to all the time is Luka Doncic. He might be, and this is not because I'm a Celtics fan and he is a Lakers player. He did this on Dallas. This is something he has done his entire career. He is one of the biggest whiners. He might be the biggest whiner in the NBA. Not to say he gets a lot of technicals for it, but man, will he not shut up. Giannis is like this. Embiid is one of the more, not lately, because he's really just hasn't been involved in many games, but Embiid is horrendous, has been in the past, for just continuing talking with the refs. They never get a second technical. The refs let them go on. The only guy I don't see that let them is Tony Brothers. He'll mostly shoo them away or something, or say, you're going to get another technical. He's very direct with them, but it never happens. Almost 99% of the time, it never happens. So Jaylen Brown turns around, starts to walk over to Tyler Ford, the head referee. The referee on the back side of the court, away from all of this, who I got to look at his name because I did not know him. Suyash Mehta. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Suyash Mehta, who had no involvement in any of this, had nobody go into his face, had nobody yell anything towards him, is calling Jaylen Brown second technical from across the court. That cannot happen. That is egregious by the league. A terrible look. Very, very referees running the game. That is just textbook that problem. This whole situation sucks. Everything about it sucked. Jaylen Brown, whether you think he was in the right or the wrong, did not deserve to be ejected in that moment. Did not deserve it. I think he deserved the first technical. You get two. A little ridiculous from the referees, from Meta especially. I even think Tyler Ford, it kind of stems from him. This is not his first instance of kind of giving smug attitudes to NBA players. I'm not going to hate on him for doing that. I just want to kind of point out and give context that he has a history of doing this. I believe NBA players are whiners. That includes Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Includes a lot of Celtics before. Marcus Smart, a lot of guys. Tyler Ford, I just think you're supposed to be the utmost professional when you were a head referee, and you kind of have less of a rope than the NBA players do, right? Obviously, I feel like the NBA players should stand up for that, but they're still the players who make the money. You're a ref. You shouldn't be doing that at all. To be smug like that, to have a history, I'm sure that kind of, rips down into the rest of your crew. I'm not sure they're all the same during the regular season. I don't know if they stick together. I don't know how that works. But when the head guy does it, like I said, it drips. So, a bad look all around. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I pointing this out? Because two things happened after this game, right? The team stuck up for Jaylen Brown. Jayson Tatum, Derek White, Joe Mazzulla, all stuck up for him. Good to see. Great to see. It really does mean your team, you are a team. And you're not just saying it to say it. You guys are a team. You've shown that in the past. It's good to see it's from this year as well. I think you were wrong. I don't think that's... you cannot... I know you have to, right? You have to, or there's no chance of you winning a championship, right? The minute you go against a teammate, it's over. Personally, I think it's a bad look on us. Especially Joe Mazzulla. The comment he made was... And this was regards to Meta fouling, giving Jaylen Brown the second call, where Joe Mazzulla said something along the lines of, oh, well, I have a lot of respect for my principal back in elementary school. He didn't let the hall monitor suspend students, something like that. What he was referring to translate, was, Tyler Ford, you made the call. You don't let your secondary or third guy make the second call. If you want to make that call, you make that call, but you weren't making that call. Jaylen Brown was walking towards you. You cannot let Meta make the second call. I agree. Joe Mazzulla, you like to speak in poems or whatever it is. I just think it wasn't the right moment for that. Can you be a little serious? I get your point. You're probably right. It's just such a bad look on the team itself. But everybody's stuck up. And a lot of the sentiment is agreed upon that the second call should not have been made. Jaylen Brown was having a really good game. The Spurs and Celtics were having a really good game. The game was tight right up until the fourth quarter. Jaylen Brown was a big part of that, and the refs kind of decided the game from there. Bad look on the NBA. Bad look on the refs especially. Tyler Ford, you got picked out, even though you got, the first technical was probably warranted. But the fact that the second one took place, you're getting some hate your way, which is tough. And who really cares? He's a ref. But it's just something to point out. The second thing is that the NBA did not fine Jaylen Brown. 9 times out of 10, when a player gets ejected, they get a fine attached to it. The NBA did not fine Jaylen Brown, especially, and I forgot to bring this up, Jaylen Brown at halftime, the minute he went to the locker room after getting ejected, before the Celtics even got back to the locker room, is tweeting, "This is the shit I am talking about." He's had some problems with refs his whole career. He has had problems this year. In all, the Spurs, the last time we played the Spurs, he had issues with refs and the amount of fouls he was getting. So, not the first time, to tweet that out in the locker. I know you were making a point. I know it's hard for me to be like, you cannot stand on that mountaintop. You cannot die on that hill. Even though I probably would die on that hill. So I can't argue with him too much. But all around, just a bad look. And even after that, even after the tweet, the NBA still did not find Jaylen Brown, which I think most people took that as, yeah, he shouldn't have been ejected. That's a bad look on the refs. So, you know what? What I want to do is give credit to the NBA. Because after all that mess, after all that hoopla, they still did not find Jaylen Brown. Because they probably felt at the top of the league that he shouldn't have been ejected. That was a national game. That's a bad look on us. Let's just stop talking about this and move on. There was also an added benefit that night for the NBA that wasn't with the Celtics and Spurs game, which is part of the reason he probably didn't get fined, because less people were talking about it as much as they would have if nothing else had happened that night in these games. If these other regular season games had just happened and, they just kept on playing and ended normally. And that was Bam Adebayo's 83-point game. 83 points by Bam Adebayo to take second place in the NBA scoring in a single regular season game record over Kobe's 81 games. We're going to get to that later after I explain these games. But that kind of helped Jaylen Brown not get fined. So there's that, right? There's that whole hoopla that nobody wanted to talk about, wishing it didn't happen, but it did. We lost to the Spurs, and I have a feeling that if Jaylen Brown stayed at that game, we probably would have beat the Spurs. It was shaping out to be a really good game, and it was quite disappointing to see it turn out the way it did. And then you had OKC on Thursday. Supposed to be a bounce-back game. Played really well. Jaylen Brown, not happy again. Admittedly not as bad as Tuesday, but not happy again. During the game, SGA, and we all know SGA is an MVP, but historically gets a lot of calls. This is the argument, right, for Jaylen Brown, where he's getting calls he shouldn't get. And he is, as I mentioned before, Embiid, Luka, guys that argue, Giannis, guys that argue all the time, big stars argue all the time, don't get those technical calls. I think there's a little bias against Jaylen Brown, partly because he is very intelligent. I think I've talked about this before. He is a smart man. Coming out of college, out of Cal, part of his draft bio was that he is too smart. He is going to cause problems when he joins the NBA because he's going to flaunt his intelligence and he's going to make it difficult on GMs and coaches. So the respect is there. I look at that as respect, that he is smart enough where he can, this comes into question of like, what are you to a team? Are you a loved player or are you an asset? When they say stuff like that about a person, about a human, it comes across as being an asset to a team. So I think sometimes referees and teams and just the media are biased against Jaylen Brown because of that, because they don't want a really smart NBA player. They just don't want that. They would rather somebody who just takes the league as it is, doesn't complain, doesn't fight things, doesn't argue, and Jaylen Brown does that all the time. So he has bias, which is probably why he got that call, because he's trying to make an argument. They don't want to hear it. They'd rather hear it from idiots like Luka and Embiid, and that's just the way it is. On Thursday, we lost to OKC. It was a tighter game than the Spurs. Jaylen Brown finished the game. It was a good game, but during the game, he audibly made a comment about SGA getting getting calls on his foul baiting. He foul baits. He is the number one foul baiter in the league. Everybody knows it. A lot of teams think it's annoying. Jaylen Brown is not the first person to bring this up in a game, but you can hear in the audio him go, "That's not basketball." And it's not. But a little poor timing considering Jaylen Brown had more foul calls than SGA that game, which is everybody brought that up. That was the first remark made when that video was posted wherever, Instagram, Twitter was, Jaylen Brown, you got more foul calls. Sure, understandably he did in that game, but SGA is the notorious worst foul baiter in the league. I don't care what OKC fans say. You cannot argue that. And I'm okay with Jaylen Brown saying that, honestly. It really didn't amount to anything, but we lost. It was a close game. And coming out of those 2 games, all I can say is, if Brown had stayed in with the Spurs, I don't know if it would have been a win, but it would have been a tight game. And it was a tight game against OKC. I'm coming out of this week, even though it's with 2 losses, a lot more comfortable going into the playoffs. If we, God willing, get into the finals, I am more comfortable going against those 2 teams now. I would have said it probably definitely would have been a finals loss about 2 months ago, if we even made it that far. We are a much stronger team. I anticipated not just in the first month of the league, but now 2 or 3 months later, even last month in February. I mean, it's just astounding how much this team has grown, how confident they've become. And really just to point that out, which kind of makes me annoyed with all the annoying stuff that happened because it overshadows the good stuff you see out of this week, which is if we get into the finals, we can take this team. We can beat them. Not saying we will, but the groundwork is there. Usually, you kind of have a good sense of there's no shot this team beats us. I felt that way about Dallas when we got in the finals. Most of the media didn't, but most people in Boston said, we see the way Dallas plays, we see what we've done against teams, there is no way they beat us. And that was the reality. They won 1 game, game 4. They were down 3-0. We kind of whooped them. It was never really close. I would have thought a month ago, if we had gone against the Spurs or the Thunder coming into the finals this year, that's how that would have gone. We would have been Dallas of this year. I no longer believe that. I am more confident. And I'm happy to say I'm more confident going into that. So it's good to see that stuff. Bad of all the other stuff that came with him. We are getting recognized as a formidable team again. Jayson Tatum is averaging over 20 points. His efficiency is not there, but we are coming together. It is good to see this. I am happy. I am a happy Celtics fan. These games are exciting to watch, which is always the most important thing. Obviously, you can't hang all. Where's my hand? Can't hang all these banners, right? Sometimes you got to take some losses, but that doesn't mean the season's all for nothing. We enjoyed the ride. We enjoyed the trip along the way. It is what this season is becoming. These are good, exciting games. The playoffs are right around the corner. I'm very excited because we can make another run. Good to see. I like this team. I like these guys. I still don't like Garza, but that's kind of the one guy. Vooch is out with a finger injury, so he'll be back in a month. I think that is before playoffs. God willing, he's back. If I have to see Garza, and he hasn't been doing that bad, but if I have to see Garza take over that second spot, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. So, there's that. And then we played the Wizards. I'm recording this on Sunday. We played the Wizards yesterday. We kind of smoked the Wizards. They are the worst team in the league for a reason. Trae Young is starting to play for them after his trade. Did not do much. Don't really care about the Wizards. I don't think I want to bother with you guys about the Washington Wizards. No fans. If there is a Washington Wizards fan out there, I'm praying for you. But I don't think anybody's going to see this. I don't care if I talk terribly about them. They are maybe the worst franchise in the NBA at the moment. Just nothing exciting there. They got, an okay rookie, or not a rookie, second-year player. So there's that. And to kind of pile on with the Wizards, like I mentioned before, Bam Adebayo, 83 points was against the Washington Wizards. I didn't watch this game because the Spurs game was going on at the same time, so I didn't get a chance to really watch it. I watched the highlights after. I feel the need to talk about what everybody else is talking about with this game regarding this game, that it is not a legit game of contention for the history books. One, that is ridiculous. Scoring 83 points is hard. I don't care if you got up and shot 83 free throws. That is hard to do. Not everybody can do that. If they're fouling you, what are you going to do? They're fouling you. You're going to take the free throws. Now, I think the biggest complaint people had is that the Miami Heat were stopping time by fouling Wizards players to give basically Bam more time to be able to dribble up again and get a shot or get another foul. Right. So there's that. Extended the length of, or the shot opportunities, I should say. But Bam Adebayo, I like Bam. A lot of people in the league like Bam. Jayson Tatum is a big friend and supporter of Bam Adebayo. Even though he's a Heat player, I respect him. I like his game. He's a guy I wish could be on the Celtics. I hate to see him because he's very good. He's been a very good pillar of that team for the last 7 years. It is a legit game, well-earned, good shot selection, had the hot hand, and it went his way. Two things are happening why... let me go into this first. the way I look at it, so this is how it is, right? You got Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt has that historical 100-point game. Then you have Bam Adebayo at 83 points and Kobe Bryant at 81 points. The Wilt Chamberlain game is a conspiracy theory at this point. There is no footage. There was only word of mouth. In a time where there was film, like it wasn't like they couldn't get footage. Just, it isn't there. It doesn't exist for this game. Most people don't believe it. Now, that being said, I think I was a believer that this game did not happen. But after watching the Bam game and thinking about how Wilt Chamberlain played and who he was playing against, it almost kind of helps his argument. Now, obviously, Wilt is gone, RIP, but I feel like it is a defendant of the 100-point game, having Bam Adebayo score the way he did in the manner he did. It is in support of Wilt, and I believe it more than I did before this game happened, is all I'm going to say. I can't really speak too much on that. The second point of contention here is Bam Adebayo past Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's legendary 81-point game, right? Cry about it. Shut up. Who cares? It was like Kobe fans were like, it was a travesty that he lost this record in the way Bam Adebayo. Oh, they're the biggest anti-Bam Adebayo guys, and the way he scored his points because it was a Kobe record. Go back and watch Kobe's 81-point game. It's not far off of what Bam did. Of course, the play styles are different because Bam's huge, but we're not going to sit here and say Kobe didn't take any free throws. Like, it was kind of similar favor. They have to be that way to score that high. I'm sure Wilt's was in similar favor. There's no footage, so we can't prove it. Things got to go your way. Time has to stop to get that high of a point scored. It just does. You can't get that high without it. The most legitimate high point game is probably Devin Booker's 71-point game against the Celtics, 71-72, in which the Suns lost. And that was probably one of the more ethical high-scoring games. So things have to go your way to get that high. People are sad because Kobe's record was broken. I saw some things where it's like now they're trying to wash Kobe away from the record books. Everybody needs to relax. I'm going to say bad things about Kobe Bryant. Also, RIP. Kobe Bryant has become one of the more overrated players in the last 7 years, 6 years post. It is sad to say he died in 2020 right before COVID hit. His legacy has turned in his favor since his retirement, but really since then too. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He is a top 10 player, lower top 10s. A lot of NBA players put him at top 5. I feel like part of that is a little bit history washing, a little bit socially acceptable answer, right? A lot of NBA players will agree on things because people agree on them. I don't feel like when he retired, he had that high status. I don't know. I'm not thoroughly versed in the league, admittedly. But I will tell you, I was on, iFunny and Instagram 10 years ago when Kobe retired, even before then. The sentiment around Kobe was that if you had a PS3 controller and you were playing as Kobe Bryant, every button was shoot the ball. He physically could not pass. He was a ball-dominant, non-assist guard. He was. That was who he was. He was a good player. He was missing he wasn't an all-around player. He just wasn't. LeBron very much is. Michael Jordan was. Michael Jordan did more for his team than Kobe Bryant did, right? Kobe was the team for many of those years. The first 3 championships, and I feel like I'm going off here, but there was so much sentiment like, we cannot do this to Kobe Bryant. It is okay. It is a record that can be broken. And I hate to talk negative about a man who is not around anymore and did so much for the league and, was a very entertaining player to watch. Did a lot for the league in that way. But to see the outpouring in hate gone Bam Adebayo's way because Kobe had that record, if you really don't count Wilt's, it's just kind of weird to see. Just to see how much has changed, how much sentiment was there. Kobe Bryant did not pass. Everybody knew that. When I was 10 years old, everybody knew Kobe Bryant doesn't pass. He takes every shot. Everybody said that. Lakers fans said that. He does not pass. He doesn't pass. The first 3 championships, and I'm probably alone when I say this, were won because of Shaquille O'Neal. If it's just Kobe Bryant, they don't win those championships. Shaq was the MVP in all 3 of those years. When Shaq left, Kobe missed the playoffs entirely one season and got bounced early for years until finally they got Gasol and they built around Kobe. That team was not structured for Kobe. Was a great personality, an entertaining watch, but the early years of those Lakers teams where he won 3 championships were because of Shaquille O'Neal. I don't think Shaq gets enough credit. I think Kobe gets more credit in the end, and I think that's crazy. Go and watch those finals runs. Shaq is the best player in the world at the time. It's not Kobe. Kobe has 5 championships. You never will be able to take that away. He earned those. He was a major part of the team. But the absolute 180 turn on Kobe's career is amazing to me. Kobe does not pass. That is what we all talked about. When you were talking about the Lakers, it was Kobe does not pass. I still see the Instagram pictures or whatever I was on. I still see all of them. Every button on a PlayStation controller was square because that was the shoot button. He does not pass. It's crazy to me now that, is it because he's no longer with us? Is it because he's retired and everybody's career and he's not the main villain that your team plays against anymore? I don't think that's the case. I think it's just nostalgia in a way of a league that isn't what it is anymore, where he gets more credit than he did when he was playing. I'm not going to take away those 2 championships with, Gasol. Not to say they had bad teams. Obviously, the Meta World Peace and all those guys. And Kobe was definitely the primary and well-earned championships. And he's got 5. You can never take those away. But I think calling Kobe top 3 is crazy. I think if I ever hear Kobe in a top 3 argument, it is wrong. There are so many players who won many championships. And obviously, eras are different. And they all say, obviously, Bill, he won all those championships, but, it was against plumbers and Chamberlain. And, I try to think of other names. Magic. I think Magic was a better all-around player than Kobe Bryant was. Mamba mentality. Kobe's PR was fantastic. Probably the best in the league. He was one of the most marketable guys in NBA history. But in terms of play, I think if we ever call him top 3, I just don't think that's right as a Celtics fan. And I'm not going to say Larry, 33, the white savior, should be in that top 3. Larry's a top 10 guy. He's probably 9 or 10. He's bottom 10. And most people will call me crazy for even saying that. I think Kobe is more closer to Larry than he is like LeBron and Michael. And a lot of NBA players put him top 3. So maybe I'm completely wrong in this. But I think the nostalgia and the sentiment has completely changed over the last 10 years about his career. And when records are broken and there's so much hate going a player's way because it was Kobe's record and they're writing him out of the league and they're trying to take away from him. That is ridiculous. Bam earned that record in a similar fashion to the way Kobe earned that record. That's just the reality. That's my argument against it. I know most people are not going to have my back on that one. And that is okay. I am a green teamer, but I remember the sentiment. I remember being a little kid watching the league, the early years of the league, and that was what everybody thought. And again, maybe it was something similar to what the Celtics go through, which is they win a lot, so we hate that guy. It could have been that. I was too young to recognize that depth. But, I just don't think that's the case. And Bam deserved it, and Bam should be recognized as such, because Bam Adebayo is a good player who now is second in all-time scoring in single games. Congratulations, Bam Adebayo. It also was against the Washington Wizards, who are just absolutely decrepit. And they didn't block you all game. They did not play defense on you. But you know what? That's your record. You earned it. Take it home. That is what I really want to talk about. Not so much about the games. I mentioned, I think it was a good week all around because we had 2 losses, but those 2 losses really showed us a lot. And I hate moral victories, but those I take as moral victories. Jaylen Brown, good to see you have fight, but maybe cool off a little bit, just a little bit, please. Jayson Tatum, averaging over 20. Efficiency is going to be there. We're poised. What does the week ahead look like for us? I'm filming this on Sunday. Obviously, it'll come out on Monday. Phoenix Suns, 7:30. You can beat the Suns. We talked about that before. And then you've got, if this would load, which it does not want to load, you've got the Warriors at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, the Grizzlies at 8 o'clock on Friday, and the Timberwolves next Sunday, Sunday night basketball. That's a solid week for you. You don't have any easy teams, but there's no team in there that I'm too scared of. Warriors are really in bad shape with injuries. The Suns are the Suns. Average team, good team, but nothing crazy. Grizzlies are bottom. Timberwolves, good team. Should be an exciting game. I always love to watch Anthony Edwards. That's a game you circle on the calendar. And then, tough week next week, but a lot of tough games towards the end here. But good. That's when you want them. Right before playoffs, you get, you get in good shape there. So go out, play well, do good things. Please, Jaylen Brown, stop arguing with the refs. And Jayson Tatum, keep it up. That's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in. And I will see you all next week. Go Celtics.